Welcome to Making Waves, the ShipRocked podcast, part of the Sound Talent Media family and one of the fastest growing rock podcasts in the world. Thank you for joining us for what is going to be episode 65, Chad? 65, yes.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries that you're on the ball anyway. And listen, we couldn't be happier because our guest tonight is someone who's become somewhat of a mainstay for ShipRocked and quite honestly, one of the hardest working people in the music business. That's Mr. Jason Hook. Jason, welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So, Jason, you are a musician, guitarist, songwriter, producer, and now, I guess we can categorize you as an actor.
No, yeah.
There you go. So
well, you are a sexy debonair too. You're a very attractive human being.
Well, I didn't want to bring in the obvious, Chad.
Boy, that's a lot of stuff thrown at me right out of the gate.
Sorry, buddy.
Listen, I like to pay accolades where they're due, and we were talking a little bit before this, and you are a musician's musician. You're kind of like this Carlos Santana of the hard rock sect.
That's awesome.
Obviously people know you from your work with Five Finger and with Alice Cooper. Sure. But now you're out doing your own thing, working and writing with other people. First question is how is it? Do you enjoy the process of working with other musicians and creating songs for them, or do you like working more in a group setting?
Well, I love it. I actually love, lately it's been working with anybody that's asked me to work with them and vice versa. If there's somebody that I feel like I wanted to collaborate, I would just sort of reach out and I really enjoy it. It's really the only thing I'm good at. I've been doing it since I was 6 years old. And now that, when I was in the band, the schedule was so hectic that it didn't really allow the time to do anything else. I mean, you could try to squeeze stuff in, and certainly I tried, but the band was moving at a great pace and required everyone's full attention. So now that I'm on my own, I can pretty much say yes to anything, and it's been that's all new and it's been fun. And of course I have the facility here at my house where if somebody wants to come and write with me, like Bad Wolves was here not too long ago, and I wrote a song with an artist named Dorothy. I'm just anyone who wants to come here and take a shot. Oh, I did a song with Hyro the Hero.
Yeah. Who
is rad, dude. That guy's rad. And the combination of rock with what he's doing, we came up with a great track, in my opinion. So I'm just enjoying the freedom, I guess,
Well, it's funny you mentioned the diversity right there in what you just mentioned. They all work in the kind of the rock space, all those bands, but they all kind of different. Obviously, you're dealing with Hyro, who works in the hip hop and the rock thing, and then Dorothy, obviously female fronted band, and then Corey Marks. You've got this angle as well. So you're able, you're kind of like, you're able to that. And that's what you look for I'm sure as a songwriter musician first, is being able to work within any genre, because it's just all music at the end of the day.
Yeah. I believe, regardless of the genre, I think that a good song is a good song.
Yeah.
And whatever you do, you should do it to the best of your ability, period. So if I kind of feel out what the artist is looking for, and then I sort of try to chameleon into, well, how do I add what I do to complement what it is you're looking for, And I'm completely flexible. There's no ego or anything like that. It's basically, look, that section's okay. Let's see if we can beat it, because we can always come back to that. If we don't like what we tried, we can always revert back to what we have. It's risk free, and so I just keep a really loose attitude, and I can work very quickly. I've just having done this for decades, it's like you kind of can spit out things quickly, and people can choose. Oh, I like that one. I like the first idea better, and you just it happens very fast, and my mantra these days is like, I only want to do things that are fun. If there's pain involved, it's a little less attractive to me. You know, I you know, I want to, you know, we only get one life, and it's really important for me to have a good quality of life, and that means I want to do things that are fun. And you know, look, when somebody, you know, my label and the management team that I work with, they've been great because they send everybody over here. You know, they're like, go right with Jason, and I try to do my
you're
best.
certainly armed with like a slew of like life hacks, right? Because I mean, you're talking about starting at 6, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it wasn't just like taking guitar lessons and playing. Like you were being classically trained with like a piano and violin and string instruments and things like that. Am I wrong?
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely part of my bio. I I don't, you know, I don't know why some kids just get turned on to music, but for me it was like obsession, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly why. I guess that's maybe back when I was younger. The great bands of that period were Heroes and big bands, Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple and Kiss, and I mean it was
mythical.
Big. Yeah, it was just like over the top. Those were the heroes of that time period, and I was fortunate enough I had some friends that lived on my street that were older than I was, and they would always bring over these great records and expose me to all this music. And you got to hear Jimmy Page, man. And I was just like, this is fantastic. Now, had they not lived on my street, or had I not had interacted with them, I don't know, maybe I would have become a BMXer or something. You know,
it's funny you mentioned those gods of the 70s when you're kind of, you know, learning about this stuff. But it's funny how that comes full circle, where you end up playing guitar for one of the originators that the sound was with Alice. So that's going to be one of those pinch me moments, correct?
Oh yeah, I've had several.
Yeah.
I've had several. I mean, I was in I played with Vince Neil for 3 years. And,
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And that was back in 2003. And, you know, he was still sort of freshly out of crew. Mm-hmm. So, you know, people were looking at me like, dude, you're like the new Motley Crue, even though that's far from the truth. Sure. But they were looking at me like, there's Vince, there's a Nicky looking guy, and then I'm the guitar player, and there's a drummer. And so it was kind of set up like, especially when I went to Canada and stuff, all my friends were like, dude, like, that's a huge gig.
Yeah.
For a Canadian guy to be touring around playing arenas with Vince Neil, you know?
Yeah.
It's cool.
So when you're cutting your teeth in Toronto, right? And then you somehow make your way out to Los Angeles, was that your band? Was that like a band decision, like a music-based decision to go out there and try your luck at the old slot machine of rock and roll, or did something else bring you out of Canada to that area?
It was exactly that. I had a band that I worked very hard on in Canada that, you know, it was one of those things where we lived together, ate bologna sandwiches, slept on mattresses. There was rat infested rehearsal space, but that's all we had. But we worked hard. I mean, Canadians do sort of have this built-in work ethic, you know, Wayne Gretzky's and David Foster's, and it goes on, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so we worked, and we eventually got signed to Elektra Records and went to Los Angeles to record the record. And then as soon as we turned the record in, we got dropped.
Fuck.
And that had its own, you know, difficult emotions attached to that. So, you know, mostly it destroyed the band. I mean, the band was just like, we just don't have any more gas in the tank. This is it. This is about all we can handle. This was just too much. But I was like, well, I got two choices. I either go get some regular job at Home Depot stacking pallets, or I suck it up, load up my car with my guitar and my Marshall, and just head back to Los Angeles, because I'd already spent 3 or 4 months there. So I didn't have any money. I just filled up the tank. I had a couple $100 for gas in a really crappy car, And I just beelined it with no idea what was going to happen to me when I got there. I did know a few people from being there for the 3-4 months I was recording, but I didn't know what was going to happen. But I knew that if I don't position myself in an area that has much greater opportunity, then trying to start over in Canada didn't sound too appealing. I knew if I'm going to really take a shot at this for a second time, because it was painful failing the first time, I said I have to put myself in the center of the entertainment business.
When you face that failure and you're not afraid to face it again, because at some point you get calloused and you'll get over it and you can get through it and you understand what it takes to get through the failures that you're going to have, which seems to be like every 3 out of 5 is going to be a failure on certain things.
I think it's part of success.
Oh, absolutely. Now let me ask you though, what you went through when if I'm an 18-year-old kid and I hear Jason Hook talking about, oh man, I had a couple $100, I had a shitty car and I'm driving to LA because I'm going to ride or die on this one. This is my last roll of the dice, maybe. Is that something that still people do or they go through, or nowadays is social? Because this is pre-social media.
Yeah,
I assume. Yeah. So is it possible still for kids to kind of have that dream where we're just going to pile into this van and drive out to LA with our last few bucks and shit, 2 of 100%. Us may not be coming back.
100%.
Yeah.
Never give up.
Yeah.
I mean, you really only have, people can accomplish some incredible things if they're mentally strong.
Yeah.
And the most of when people give up, it's because the people around them said, I told you this wouldn't work. You were stupid to try this in the first place. I told you needed a real job. And they start believing that crap.
Yeah.
I never did. I said, no, I have one goal. That's I'm going to have a career in music, and period. And if you're not, I don't listen to other people. Most of the time when somebody's trying to talk you out of something, it's because they're disappointed because it didn't work out for them.
Yeah.
And they'd be much more comfortable to see you also fail.
Birds of a feather.
Yeah. Exactly. So that brings us to one thing that you've become very well known for. A lot of people indirectly don't know that you were basically had your hands on this, was Hired Gun. Yeah. And you talk about a collection of hard-headed people. It's the people that are within that film focuses on. And it's an incredible film to see what people go through as far as like, hey, I'm going to be a session person. Maybe I'll get on with an act. Maybe I'm not. And then there's people who just choose to be that person, or, one thing, another happened and it just kind of worked out where they can not only be known for like, whether it's Luther Kerr with Toto and he can go and do all these incredible things.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic film. And how did that come to be? Did you look at yourself and go, you know what, there's a lot of people like me and I really want to focus on them because they need some accolades. They need the spotlight for a moment.
Oh, 100%.
It's very eye-opening with Liberty DeVito and things like that. It's one of those things like, shit, man, he put in the time.
Oh, 100%. There are thousands of stories like that. And, I come from both worlds. Mm-hmm. My musical journey, starting from Los Angeles, was playing guitar for, celebrity musicians, if you will. And so I have all that experience and all the stories from that time period. I guess what makes my story unique is the fact that I decided to walk away from that and take a shot at being the artist as opposed to working for the artist. Mm. And that's a much harder road to get your music out there, So I'm one of the rare few that did both and had success with both. Like Sheryl Crow used to sing for Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And she said, I've had enough of this. I want to try to see if I can make it with my music. And so there's not too many of those stories out there. But I think that it was a great learning experience for me to play for other people. You had to be professional. You had to be on time. You had to be rehearsed. You had to, it was a great set of tools that I maybe would have not picked up had I gone right from, working in LA to a record deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think a lot of people get that rush of it. I've made it. I have records out there. Everyone loves me. And then that kind of, they lose control. They lose a little grip. It's possible that they can lose grip on reality. But, I always encourage everybody to, pick something that you really want and don't let go of it no matter what.
When you're in a situation like that, where you are the owner of one of these very, very minimal amounts of stories that are out there, and you take the shot, did you find that the people that you had stood up for and showed up on time and grinded your nose for, were they there to support you, or maybe, I wouldn't say pass the mic, but the idea is like, hey, I respect your yeah, okay, cool.
Oh yeah,
I don't know, you're right. I don't know many people who have done in such a great, like, verbose version of it too.
Well, thank you.
Curious.
I think it's actually in the Hired Gun movie where I'm talking to Alice is telling the story of how we were interacting, and and I actually made the decision. I think it was January 2009 when the last show I played with Alice Cooper was at the NAMM convention in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And Death Punch was in the audience, because I said, if you're going to be there and I'm going to be playing, come and hang out. And the word had sort of got out a little bit with the crew and some of the other musicians that this was going to be my last show. But I didn't want to, always exit with dignity. I didn't want to do anything shady. I didn't want to interrupt his business. So I knew that we had a break coming up. I called him. It's funny because Alice is completely OG from the 70s. He doesn't have iPads, laptops, cell phones, nothing. So, and when I say I call Alex,
smart
Alex,
man.
I had to call somebody that's like his assistant. I had to call him on his phone, and then he puts Alice on the phone. And I love that about him, because the 70s was an incredible period. But he's OG. He likes to play poker, likes to go to the movies. That's it. So I got a hold of him and I said, listen, Alice, you've been an incredible mentor to me. I mean, this is a classy guy, and he has managed to file his iconic status and his popularity into a really healthy folder. He's nice to everybody. He doesn't get mad. He doesn't throw tantrums. He's not a, chaotic guy. And so I just thanked him for everything that I learned from him. I said, but I'm going to go and join this little heavy metal band and drive around in a van and take a shot. And I think it's in the movie where he says, I encourage all my guys, if it's time for you to try that, you have my blessing. Go off, take your best shot. I support you. And after Death Punch started to become more and more successful, we would bump into each other on tour, on festivals. And every single time I saw that Alice was going to play on the same day or the same night, he would go, get Jason, get him up here and jam. I would always be like, changing out of my Death Punch outfit, go back up on stage with Alice Cooper.
Yeah. Amazing.
Cool.
Yeah. I think that's when you get to a point in your, obviously, his career where everyone knows who he is. Alice knows who he is. So at this point, it's about legacy, right? Everything is legacy. He's
played his life great.
Mm-hmm.
He had alcohol issues that escalated to a point where he just said, I'm done. And he's a Christian, and he's extremely generous. He would overpay his musicians because he didn't want them to get poached from anybody else. There was all kinds of Christmas bonuses and dinners, and there was all kinds. I mean, he does this Christmas pudding where it's a charity event that he gives back to schools. And I mean, he is my role model. I almost felt like at one point tattooing on my hand, remember Alice, because when I start to get a little twisted over something, remember Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Because he does it right. He's got it figured out.
Well, one other person I want to talk about in that film, and then we'll get on to other things because Hired Gun has been out for a while, but we definitely want to reintroduce that to a lot of people who are not familiar with it. Is with what you're doing now as production and player, you kind of remind me of what Jay Graydon's doing, right?
Sure. Yeah, Jay. Yeah. He's a great character, Jay, and an incredible talent. And he's, I mean, I don't think most people would maybe know of him or his list of credits.
Yeah.
But he's just like this. Well, he was a product of, maybe the 70s and 80s where he was cooking with gas and played on everyone's stuff, wrote a bunch of stuff. There's a great story in that film about inviting Steve Lukather over to try to come up with something for Howard Benson.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Turn Your Love Around. Turn your love around. Dun, 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 right? And the story behind that, because they didn't have anything. And Steve Lukather came in and played something on piano. And Jay was in the bathroom, came running out with no clothes on saying, I got it. Keep playing,
Yeah, and that's one of those great stories about it. But just to hearing him having to go in there and save the Steely Dan song and all this stuff. But so I see your career in a lot of ways mirroring kind of that thing. Like, hey, I'm writing with a lot of different people. I'm getting a lot of different products. People are coming to you going, hey, I'm stuck, Jason. I need help on this chorus, verse. But you also look at with your studio there, you're big in the production angle of things. So it's always nice to see that someone who's been in the game is now kind of working the other side of it.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I love playing my guitar, and it's okay. It doesn't always work out. Somebody comes over here and the assignment is to come up with a song. We'll try, but it doesn't always, sometimes you land on a banger, you go, wow, this turned out great. But sometimes you don't, and that's okay. But if you don't try, if I never let fear be my rudder, I will say, I will try. I'll try. Right.
Well, I want to ask you real quick before we move into the questions. So speaking of trying and, hearkening back to your earlier years in Canada, you've been working with a Canadian artist, 18-year-old kid by Alex Coles, and you're producing him, right? Not just writing songs, but you're doing the whole kit and caboodle, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, this kid's okay. Oh, I'm really picky, and this is just one of those whiz kids that he writes a song a day. He does it with ease. There's a solid built-in talent, and he's gifted, and I'm it's difficult for me to commit 100% to somebody to try to get their career off the ground, but it really all starts with great songs and great talent. And so when I found Alex, I said, send me everything you've done. And so he fills up a Dropbox with like 20 songs, and I'm going, and he's just doing this on his laptop. I just got so excited about it that I said, I have to help this guy. I have to help this kid. And without hyping it too much, when I've had him in the studio, I'm going to Fort Wayne to record with him at Sweetwater's studio at the end of November, and we're already a handful of songs in, and we have to shoot some videos and all this stuff, and I'm kind of taking under my wing, and I told him, I said, my commitment to you is that I will not stop until we get you where you want to go. And if I can't get it done and somebody else thinks they can, I'll hand you off. I'm not going to stand in your way. But I just like to see, I was that kid at one point. And those people cling to hope that the person that has offered to help them is real and not bullshitting them. And so I pride myself in saying, I'll do what I say I'm going to do. And and then that's your reputation.
Yeah.
And
Remember Alice, right?
and there's some, yeah, well, there's some satisfaction with, if I can get this guy, if I can get this guy where he wants to go, what a great sense of satisfaction for both of us, and I've made some great connections in the music business, and the popularity of the recent batch of Death Punch songs, a bunch of #1 songs. We were the most streamed band of 2020 on top of Metallica and AC/DC.
That's fucking awesome.
#1, 800 million streams or something. It was ridiculous.
You stop counting after 500. Hey guys, everyone, welcome. We are at Facebook Live now. Welcome everyone. Thank you for spending your Wednesday evening with us for the next half hour. We are here with Jason Hook, and guys, if you want to catch out the first half an hour of this, please check on Monday. The podcast will be live then on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube, and wherever you get your streaming. So with that said, we're going to continue our conversation with Jason. Also, if you have some questions for him, please, by all means, put them in the thread, and we'll get to some of the more interesting ones. But with that said, Jason, so are you in the middle of forming a new act? You've got songs. What's going on with you and your hopes for a band?
Well, that's been the only agenda I've had really since leaving Death Punch, is that I'm still working with the same team of people at the Better Noise in 10th Street, and I just went right to work writing songs. I've got 35 songs, and they've heard a lot of the material and they're excited about it. Where I'm getting stuck is, I've had many singers come through, and I'm just really trying to be patient to pick the right guy. They were like, don't be in a hurry to pick your singer. Make sure you find the right guy. And I don't disagree with that, because it really is the make or break element, and so I'm that's top priority right now. I've done my work. I've got all the material prepared. Some are completed songs, some are just music, but I really want to find a co-writer, a partner, somebody that I have that chemistry with, and then we're both on the same page musically, so we can, I've got the facility. We just want to, that's the only element that's missing.
What kind of singer are you looking for? In what vein? If you were to drop a line in the water, who are you going to hope it's going to catch?
Well, I like heavy music, but I also like melodic music. So, and I think that's one of the things that Ivan Moody was fantastic with, is that he was, he sells his lyrics, he can sing really well, and he can get heavy, but you can still decipher what he's talking about. You can follow the storyline. It's not like that guttural, like you can really understand what he's saying, even when he's singing with his heavy voice. Mm-hmm. And, Ivan Moody's don't just grow on trees, so it's hard to find. I like guys like Dave Grohl. I certainly like Corey Taylor. I always loved Adam Gontier's voice from 3 Days Grace, those early records, and the power of his and the grit of his voice. But most importantly, I'm just looking for somebody that has something above and beyond, something that's magic, Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good guys out there. I've certainly had them over here. But I'm looking for something that's magic, not just good.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're always wanting to regress from what we just came from. So it's, if you're at that point, it's really hard to get in a rush, because first thing people are going to say is like, well, how's it sound compared to Ivan?
Well, that's the other thing too. I'm not necessarily looking to recreate Five Finger Death Punch. That band is an anomaly, and I think it would be foolish to try to clone it. I think that there's going to be, the music will have familiar sounds and elements from what they sound like, but that's only because I had a pretty decent hand in writing that music. So it's inevitable that I'm going to take me over here, and it's going to have some familiarity, obviously. But But as far as singer goes, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, when Tom Morello found Chris Cornell, you got two guys that are extremely good at their role. That was destined to succeed. Now, when Eddie Van Halen had Sammy Hagar, they got very lucky because that clicked, that worked. But when they got Gary Cherone, not so cool.
Well, at that point, you're just dealing with these past identities that are larger than life. It's hard to replicate Roth. Roth didn't have Hagar's range. We all know that, but Dave is Dave. And
Dave is different, but great in his own way.
Yes.
Sammy's different than Dave, but Sammy had several solo albums. Yeah. So this was not new stuff for him. He had a following, and Sammy can construct a really solid commercial rock song. And I would even go to say that some of it was kind of generic rock. But when you take that ability, that skill set, and you put it on top of Eddie's extremely unique approach to making music, well, now you've got something that's going to be a commercial rock top line to some really unique music. And that combination, it's like when you dropped your peanut butter in my chocolate. It just, it's a
so
great...
yeah, the thought real quick with the Sammy thing, I'm sure that Eddie Van Halen was so in awe of Montrose growing up, and then to get the singer from Montrose in your band after you already lost your original singer, that's a huge deal.
I don't know if they realize how lucky they got getting Hagar, because Hagar was ready to crush it when he joined Van Halen, and that first record was magic.
It's a hell of a Venn diagram, you know, the idea of how those. Yeah, I mean, so you're looking for your Venn diagram, I guess.
You know,
you're looking for your Hagar.
Exactly. I mean, it's all about, you know, it's all about having a really developed shit meter. You know, it's like, I've been doing this for so long that I can really see clearly the lines between the bar band level guy, the hobbyist part-timer. Then I've also worked with some guys that their full-time job is to write and record for other people. They write all day, like these Nashville guys and stuff. And those are the guys that I shoot them any piece of music, they come back with something that's signed, sealed, and delivered, ready to go. And I'm like, man, this is fantastic. Now, if I could only find somebody with that skill set that could be in the band, because a lot of those guys have families. That's what they don't tour. They don't want to be performers, you know.
The stage is the fucking beast, man. As you know, more than anybody, finding somebody who wants to go and can band, stand up for the fucking, you know, for the troops behind them. It's like that's a hard.
It's a tall order. I mean, you have to, you know. You have to have some kind of desire to entertain. Yeah. You can't just get up there and speak like this and stare at the feet. Charisma. You have to have something that you believe in, some message that you want to say. You have to believe in your lyrics, you know, which is something that Ivan is fantastic with. You know, I mean, he doesn't care. I wrote the song about this. This was about. It's called "Burn Motherfucker," and that's this song today. You know, he doesn't care, and that's the beauty of Ivan. You know, he's just he's real. You know, something's bugging him, that's going to be that song that day. You know, coming in and yelling.
My daily diary. Hey, Jason, we had a question from Jennifer. Jennifer wanted to know, as a child, who musically inspired you?
Well, I don't think it's any big mystery, but I'm a massive Kiss fan. And that was really the first over-the-top rock and roll thing that I was exposed to. So, you know, Ace Frehley is one of my big heroes. I just think he had a very simple and formulated approach to his solos. Everything was kind of like a little song, a little package, beginning, middle, and end. It wasn't too complicated. It all made sense. I think he's you know, underrated. I loved what he did, and he was a big influence on me. And you know, so was Richie Blackmore. You know,
Richie. Is that what your t-shirt is? Is that your t-shirt celebrating Richie?
Well, you know what? This is funny because I bought this because it said Team Blackmore. I don't know what the fuck it means or what it's all about, but I
Well,
thought,
at least it doesn't say Blackmore's Night. I don't know what he's doing with that whole medieval thing.
I don't get the mandolins and the lutes and the. I mean, I don't get the. It's like the Druid, you know. It's like Spinal Tap.
Yeah, exactly.
A lute is like one of the most incredibly like it's like you're going harder than anybody else in the paint when you show up with a fucking lute, and then you have to explain to somebody like what the fuck it is that you're doing.
Yeah, dude,
it's great.
They're like Renaissance Fest all the way home with their druid
the castle and yeah, it's great. Hey, let's shift gears for a second. So let's talk about this movie that's kind of everywhere. If you go on Blabbermouth or Loudwire, The Retaliators.
Yeah.
So this is your second film that you've acted in. The other one was Awakening the Zodiac. And if folks haven't seen that, it's kind of it could be a really good bookend or like at least a continuation of what David Fincher did with the movie Zodiac. Same story, kind of premise.
It's a horror film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the band is in the movie. This is a movie that I think it's one of the first releases from Better Noise Films, which is Alan Kovac's new company, and I really like Alan. I support everything he stands for. So I just I want to spread the word that this is a really cool movie. There's a lot of the artists that Alan handles in the movie. Jacoby's in there, Tommy Lee. I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff. Nikki Sixx wrote the end title song, and the band was invited to go shoot for the movie. Now, I left the band shortly after that, so I have a feeling that I'm probably not in it as much as I was going to be, but that's okay. It's a cool movie, and the other guys from Death Punch are all in it. So I mean, I just that's when I would encourage people to go and see when it's available.
Yeah. Hey, you still have it on your IMDb. So for your next project, you've already got, you're building up your creds.
Yeah, it's another credit. I had a lot more fun with the Awakening the Zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the guys I grew up with in school in Canada turned into this really successful director. And I mean, we knew each other when we were, 8 years old. Yeah. And now he's this successful director. And I told him, I said, I want to be in a film. And he goes, okay, let me get back to you. So he writes me into this script. It's got Shane West and Leslie Bibb, and I mean, there's some heavy duty people.
Yeah.
And it was a Sony, full motion picture Sony film, and I loved it. I have no problem in front of a camera. It doesn't freak me out. I guess the hardest part of that was learning the lines. I had a monologue thing I had to do as an FBI agent, and that didn't scare me at all. But when I showed up on the set, they're like, okay, Jason, did you get the script revision? I'm like, what script revision? You didn't get the script revision. Hey, could somebody get Jason the new script? And I'm like, okay, well, this is gonna be bad because I committed to memory this whole thing that's now not that thing. Mm-hmm. And so I'm, here I am pacing around a cornfield trying to learn my lines while they're waiting for me to come back and shoot my scene. They're like, how you doing? I'm like, a couple more minutes. Hold on a second. I'm writing.
Movies must be so glamorous.
No, but it's great fun. I would love to do more of that. I mean, there are some other film projects that I'm working on. I don't want to give it away because some of these things do work out, that some of them don't. But there's something I'm really excited about that I'm doing. It's another documentary. Nice. And it doesn't have anything to do with me or the band. It has to do with some other subject. But it's going to be super cool, and there's been a lot of interest for it. It's just a question of trying to get it picked up, blah blah blah.
Can we ask, is it in music or is it in some other subject?
It's about a specific musician.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Richard wants to know, what's your go-to amp?
Well, I'm a Marshall Die Hard. I grew up playing. Played JCM 800s in like the majority of my career. I really think that's one of the greatest amps that they made. And it's still an integral part of my sound. Every guitar solo you've ever heard on all of the Death Punch recordings and anything else has been that amp right back there. Now I use when I was playing live with the band, I would use the EVH EL34, the last version of that EVH head. The reason why that head is great is because it's voiced very much like a Marshall, but you get 3 channels. And I had to cover clean sounds and solos and rhythms and stuff. So it's really important to have those extra channels. Otherwise, I just roll with the Marshalls. You know?
Yeah. Well, there you go, Jason. Thank you on that. Richard, Marshalls. So basically the go-to for many a great guitarist. So you're joining us. You've been on ShipRocked several times, but this time you're coming as a stowaway. Yeah. We're talking about hired guns, so we're going to have Phil and Nita on as well. So it's kind of a nice little reunion of sorts.
Both very good friends of mine.
Yeah. So that's a lot of fun. So I think probably the idea of kicking around some sort of hired gun documentary showing for folks who haven't seen it yet might be something we have to kick around in the works.
Ooh, that would be cool. You mean like playing
in the movie theater? We do show movies and we do show them in the room, so make it accessible to people. That'd be a lot of fun.
Ooh, that would be great. Yeah.
It'd be nice for people to get educated on what that was, because a lot of people haven't seen it. But if you have Netflix, I believe it's still available on Netflix.
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Just pull up Hired Gun. It's really 90 minutes. You're going to really enjoy the stories behind what these people do. And a lot of the success does come with a lot of heartbreak. So, Chad, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I do. I have one question that I wanted to ask you something very specific. So, with the caveat being that you can't know who this is, and I will act upon this question. Okay. But if you could ask next week's guest one question, what would it be? It could be anything in the whole world, existentially, but I will ask it.
And I don't have any idea who the guest is.
Nope. Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, what inspired you to make the sacrifices that got you to where you are today? What inspired you, and what advice would you have for the next generation to inspire them?
All right. That's a really great question. And you are number one of this series that I'm going to move forward with. So next week I will say, hey, guess that you can't know who it is right now. Jason Hook would like to ask you this.
Right. Okay. So I don't answer the question from the last guy.
I will turn back around. We will ring around the rosy with this. Yeah. Like, hey, so remember that thing we did a few months ago? This guy has a question for you. You know,
that's all good.
Hey, Jason, Steve wants to know, and this is something that Chad and I, we probably should have asked, but I'm glad it's coming from someone out here. It says, what were some of your favorite parts about ShipRocked during your past sailings? What do you remember the most?
Well, I always had a wonderful time on the boat. We were a little unsure about how that was going to feel because, you know, as you start to get, your band starts to get bigger, you're sort of buffered by people. People help buffer you from, you know, being exposed to large groups of people and all this stuff. But so we were like, okay, how is this going to play out? So you're telling me we're going to be in cabins next to all the other participants, right? And it really didn't end up being a problem. I loved it. I mean, I love people, so I don't have any problem interacting, and everyone's very respectful, and you just sort of submit to the fact that, like, we're all here on this boat. I'm no different than you. We're going to ride the elevators up together. We're going to eat lunch in the same room. It's like it's a very unique experience in that way, because a lot of the bigger bands, you can't get close to them in that way, you know? So that's what I think really makes ShipRocked special, is you get to mix it up with these guys that you would never have access to on that level. So I'm just trying to think of the last time we were on the boat. Of course, I think we were the headliner.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the dope suites with the balcony and everything.
Sure.
A king size bed in the living room. It was really nice, you know. And I was like, yeah, this is you know, just being by the water. The water has a certain energy, and being with music fans, I mean, it's just a great experience. If anyone hasn't been on ShipRocked, I can't recommend it highly enough. You know, it's just it's a really cool experience, and I'm actually looking forward to it because a lot of my friends are playing. I'm going to be looking at some singers that are on the boat. I got, you know, 0936 who I talked to, and I mean, there's Mark Morton. All those guys are acquaintances, so I'm looking forward to it.
You just did the best sales pitch we could ever do to move cabins, so thank you, Jason. Appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, your future sales is cemented. Anyway, hey, I had a question. This is just one. This is like, would you rather be able to play like, and not that you already can't, but let's just take it as it is. Would you rather be able to play like Eddie Van Halen or write like Bernie Taupin?
Oof. Well, I would, you know, because guitar is sort of my thing, maybe Bernie, because Bernie was the genius behind all those fantastic, legendary Elton John songs.
Sure.
But here's the thing, Bernie was the lyricist. And then Elton would take the words and transform them into melodies.
Yeah.
Top line of the song. So it really is the combination of, you know, there's music and then there's the top line, which is your lyrics and melody. The two of them are responsible for the top line. I would like to have that skill set tied together inside me.
Of those two items.
Yeah, because they need each other. Bernie would just have more words.
Yeah.
And Elton would make them all fit rhythmically and melodically into his music.
I should have posed that a different way.
Yeah, because there's two guys responsible for those.
That's true. Would you rather play like Eddie or be like Bernie and Elton?
It's like, yeah, I'm gonna take both.
Yeah, well, look, Eddie Van Halen is, you know, also one of my heroes. I mean, I really, really relate to his style. It's just loaded with swagger, and you won't find anybody playing like that these days. You know.
No, of course not.
A lot of the millennials.
So I'm always interested to ask professional musicians that kind of question, you know, because again, you grew up listening to that and being influenced by that stuff, but now you're at a point where, like, you know, I can play pretty similar to Ed, and I can write some lyrics that are emotionally as deep as what Bernie and those guys are doing. So thank you for that answer on that one. I'm always curious about this type of things. Jason, we've had you for almost an hour, and we can't thank you enough. Seriously. Yeah, definitely. Guys, check out The Retaliators, a new movie that Jason is in. Maybe he's not. Who knows?
I'm in it. I'm
in it. Okay.
It's in pieces, but you know, the Death Punch guys are in there. So if you're fans of Death Punch,
absolutely. We want to make sure and check that out. Also, he's working with a lot of artists. Keep your eye open, or your ears open, I should say, for stuff he's working on with different folks. We talked about earlier, like Dorothy, and he's been working with Hyro and Bad Wolves. So we'll see what comes of that. So, and also obviously check out Jason's enormous back catalog of work that he's been part of. Check out Hired Gun, and we're really excited about what you got coming on Horizon. If you're a singer, find out a way to get your audition tape to Jason. Maybe you're the one.
I'm open to look at anybody. Best way to get a hold of me is just through maybe Instagram. Send me a direct message. I'm just at Jason Hook, so that's pretty easy to remember, right?
There you go. You go. See, look at that direct response. You don't have to go through a whole bunch of folks. So that's nice to hear.
Right to me, I'll answer.
Yeah, excellent. Jason, thank you again. Absolute pleasure. And we look forward to seeing you on the boat, and it should be a great time. And thank you, everyone out.
Can't wait.